And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Hello, I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska aviation weather outlook on this Sunday, April 6th, 2025. And this outlook will be for the period Monday and Tuesday, but to set things up as of this Sunday, we have low pressure, especially in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, the primary low sitting down here in the region, Southwest Gulf, North Pacific, and we have some surface low pressure and disturbances that are kind of rotating about the broader circulation. Meanwhile, there's a surface low and a piece of energy coming out of the Gulf of Anadyr that's going to be dropping south-southeastward and crossing the Alaska Peninsula eastern Aleutians by very late Monday night into Tuesday morning with some snow showers or mixed rain and snow showers. And as we get out here further north and west, there's a pocket of colder air over the lower Chukchi Bering Strait, and that feature is going to be sitting up there through this upcoming week. But IFR conditions are expected Monday morning. Areas of the eastern Brooks Range across the central interior, along and north of the Alaska Range, up through the especially middle Tanana Valley, and then down here across the Gulf, southern two-thirds of the Panhandle. As again, we have these disturbances that are being rotating back to the north and west that'll enhance coastal rain or rain showers, and then in the mountains you're getting snow. And again, that extends back toward Prince William Sound, eastern Kenai, and up into the central Alaska Range as well. For Monday afternoon, we find IFR conditions northeastern Gulf Coast, Yakutat Bay through Cape Suckling, along Prince William Sound, eastern Kenai, areas of the central Alaska Range around, say, Windy and Isabel Passes, and then also areas on the south-facing slopes of the eastern Brooks Range along the northwest Arctic coast between Utqiagvik and Cape Lisburne, and then also here down along the lower Yukon coast back toward Nunavik Island and St. Paul. And then for Tuesday morning, we find widespread IFR conditions over the Gulf, outer southern Panhandle up into Prince William Sound, Talkeetna Mountains, up along the Alcan border, upper Yukon River, and the eastern portion of the Brooks Range. And then we also find some IFR conditions coming in along the southwest coast, Kuskokwim, western Bristol Bay, down into the Alaska Peninsula, and a broad area of IFR conditions out across the southwest Bering Sea and far western Aleutians. For Tuesday afternoon, we find IFR conditions out over St. Lawrence Island and along the Yukon coast, as well as in the central interior, the central Yukon Valley up to the south slopes there of the Brooks Range, and then along the intercoastal mountains of the northern Gulf Coast through the inner Panhandle. And that's the way things are shaping up here as we go through the early week. Adigan Pass on Monday should generally stay MVFR. A little further east, Adigan Pass, IFR conditions will likely prevail, and then down across the west arm of the Alaska Range, Lake Clark, Merrill, generally MVFR conditions expected Monday. Rainy Pass, also MVFR. Windy Pass may be one of those locations that are just IFR throughout the day Monday. Isabel Pass, generally MVFR conditions. There's a cutoff. As you get west, though, toward Windy Pass, this central area of the Alaska Range, expect IFR conditions throughout the day Monday. Further east, Mentasta Pass, VFR. And then as we drop down through the Copper River Basin, Tanita Pass, IFR becoming MVFR. And right now, Portage Pass, generally the bulk length of the pass out into Prince William Sound, IFR conditions will prevail on Monday, as there will be areas of rain and snow that are pushing back toward the north and west, and certainly crossing any of the coastal mountains there in the higher half of those mountain elevations. We're looking at a wet snow, lower elevation at coast level there, rain. And Chilkoot and White should generally see MVFR conditions on Monday. So looking at the situation with the surface freezing line, we find temperatures below freezing have pushed south of the eastern Aleutians and Alaska Peninsula. As I mentioned, there is a feature, a weak low that has some snow showers that'll become rain snow showers the further south it gets. That'll be pushing across the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians by the time we get into very late Monday night and Tuesday morning. But in the meantime, that feature will be kind of pushing across here, brushing parts of St. Lawrence Island, St. Matthew, and Nunavik Island. Warmest temperatures aloft have pushed back toward the east into northern central Canada, where you have freezing levels aloft above 6,000 and 8,000 feet. But otherwise, over the state of Alaska, generally cooler conditions, and there is actually a pocket of colder air that's sitting up over the Chukchi Sea, northwest quadrant here of the mainland that'll be a dominant feature through much of the upcoming week. Icing potential, we find along an old frontal boundary some cloud cover and precipitation above 2,000 and 3,000 feet, eastern Brooks Range up into the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. As we drop down along the Alaska Range and the Gulf Coast, we could find within the clouds above 4,000 feet potential for some moderate icing, and then above 6,000 feet the outer and southern parts of the Panhandle. And then to the west, as this little low feature drops southeastward, there could be where there are some snow showers, and above 4,000 feet there could be some moderate icing. Looking at the upper level jet stream winds on Monday, we have in the warmer air, the ridging that's out to the east over western Canada, we find southerly flow, 105, 110 knots. Back to the west, though, northerly winds coming in off of the Asia mainland, eastern Russia, into the Bering, and then crossing the Alaska Peninsula. And as we get down to 9,000 feet, we find that generally over the Bering Sea, this northwesterly flow, 35 to 45 knots. And at 3,000 feet, still a belt of winds. Here's that little hint of a circulation of that low pressure that will be dropping southeastward down toward the Alaska Peninsula for Monday night and Tuesday morning. But otherwise, a belt of winds out here over the central Aleutians, or north of the Aleutians over the central Bering, generally in the 35 to 40 knot range during the day on Monday. And then we have that circulation around the mid-upper level low. This is the surface reflection, and we find southerly flow coming back up into the Panhandle. So as a result, there's going to be some areas of moderate turbulence along the northern northeastern Gulf Coast, surface to 6,000 feet. Also areas of moderate turbulence, west arm of the Alaska Range, especially down toward Lake Iliamna, extending down along the Alaska Peninsula and into Kennedy Entrance, the lower portion of Cook Inlet. We could find some isolated moderate turbulence off of Cape Lisburne, Point Hope, surface to 3,000 feet, as well as down around St. Matthew, Nunavik Island to St. Paul, surface to 4,000 feet. And that wraps it up for the day on Monday.